Hello my darling, it's Chanel and today we are doing WildOnes Book Club. So as you might recall, the pick was How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. Bless you, Nova. So this book is about two librarians, one of whom is a former serial killer and the other who knows what's up. I'm excited to read it. I love anything about librarians and I am looking forward to this what seems to be cat and mouse game between two co-workers. So I will be reading this chapter by chapter and giving you updates as I go, full spoilers ahead. Besides that, today I am going out and I am seeing Kate and together we are watching Nosferatu. I am very excited. I love vampire stuff. I love the Skarsgård brothers. I will watch either of them quite happily. Even though I think they're playing the monster Nosferatu today. So maybe I will unlock a new monster kink for myself. Excuse the wet hair, but it is 38 degrees today. And I was like, no, I'm not blow drying it. It's just going to air dry. So it's looking weird at the moment, but I'm sure it'll end up being fine. As you can see in the background, I have bookshelves up. So built some bookshelves. I love building stuff. It's so much fun. Oh man, everything in this house, all the furniture has been put together by me and I hate doing it. There's always one point where I've put something either back to front or upside down and then you have to undo it. And I'm like, why every time, Chanel, every goddamn time you do this? As you can see, I've got a lot of space to fill it up. I haven't really moved everything over yet. I've just moved a couple of books from Kiddo's Playroom, but I'm excited to hopefully fill it up with a lot of 5-star books. Gradually fill it up. So without much further ado, let's read the first bit. And then we'll probably end up going to the movies with Kate and then I'll continue this once I return home because the kids are going to their dad's today, so I'll have plenty of time to read and update you. First chapter is titled Working Like the Devil and it's in Margot's point of view. The moment I walked through the front door, I knew. Okay guys, I have read the first chapter. So we start out with Margot, formerly Jane, who is talking about her new job as a librarian and all of the sort of idiosyncrasies that come along with the job. She mentions, computer porn guy, which is a very real thing. Whilst it was an unpleasant part of my former job, having to go up to men who are watching pornography on the main computers, Margot likes it. She gets a kick out of chastising the men and looking at the pornography that they are watching. She's a bit of a kinky miss. She talks a lot about her previous job too in the hospitals, killing her patients, which she saw as a mercy. She thought she was doing the right thing. And at the moment, she's starting to get a little bit bored with her job, her quieter job. It's still interesting. She's still finding herself having to call the police, and it's always male patrons that instigate the phone calls, and that was true as well. When I was in the library, I don't think we ever called the police because of a woman. So it's like I still get a kick out of reading about my former job because I'm no longer doing it. It made me even miss weeding the books, which I never used to love, but haven't done it in ages. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember weeding. That was fun. Was it, Chanel? But I'm enjoying the writing style. Margot is an interesting character, to say the least. It's very easy to read, which I appreciate, and it's quite captivating. So the other woman's name is Patricia. I haven't met her yet, but I had to laugh when one of her colleagues asked her if she read, and she had a bit of a panic because she doesn't read books. She's a doer, and people who read aren't doers because you're not really doing anything when you're reading. But she was considering maybe just picking up a book to make it look like she did read, because I think that would be quite odd if you're a librarian and you didn't read books. I don't know how good you could be at your job if you weren't familiar with any kind of literature, because part of the job is helping patrons find books based on other books that they like. But yeah, so far so good. First chapter was fun to read. Okay, so I've read 50 pages. Margot's just met the new reference desk librarian, Patricia, I think is how you pronounce it, not Patricia. And it's unnerved her. It's got her all in a tizzy and she's had some unhinged moments with her other colleagues, and she's had some outbursts, and she's reliving some of her previous kills from her hospital days. And then a customer comes in who is considered to be one of those, I guess, high maintenance patrons. She is accusing them of losing the books and accusing her of losing the books. Something that once again happens often, and she's denying that she's lost the book. And this time Margot, I don't want to say she threatens her, but she pretty much, doesn't handle it with grace and just tells her, you better go home and find those lost books, bitches, because I'm here to collect. And then all of a sudden, this patron is found dying in the bathroom at the library, and Margot kind of locks herself in there with her, and it's not, she's clearly got a bit of a fetish of being with people while they're dying. We're not really certain if she's expedited this patron's demise or if she was just relishing in her last moments, but she's interrupted by Patricia and led out. So not sure what's gonna happen, but yeah, she's intense, man. She's very intense. From what we've gathered of Patricia, she is very elegant and put together and observant. So we'll see how things progress.
Painting. Hang on, let me try.
Hey guys, I am back from Nosferatu. What's my thoughts on it? Look, I think it's one of those ones where it's hard to take it seriously, even though I don't think this one was meant to be campy. It still felt that way, a bit cheesy. I am giving it a 3 out of 5 stars because it was still a very pretty film, and I am a sucker for visuals and costume and set design, and if they're gorgeous, I will rate it highly. So the atmosphere and the vibe was fantastic. The acting was decent. I will say that I didn't feel any chemistry with Lily and Nosferatu or Nicholas Holtz or anybody. I felt like some of the nudity, there's full frontal nudity in this, and it got to the point where I started to feel like it was a bit gratuitous. There were scenes where I was like, this feels like you just tried to shoehorn in another titty. Let's be real here. So yeah, there were some things I didn't like. I felt like the cinematography, there was a lot of zooming in and panning, and it was overdone. And I felt like it could have been cut down. It got a bit dull in some areas. And I felt like Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character was pointless. Super gorgeous. Obviously, Aaron is just a sight for sore eyes, but his character in this, utterly pointless, and I didn't see, and it just offered nothing to the story besides lots of eye candy. So it was a 3 out of 5 for me. It was a lot of jump scare in terms of horror. There was a bit of obviously bodily horror too. I will say that Bill Skarsgård's voice in this, with his rolling R's, the reverberations could be put to great use. That did something for me. And I realized how celibate I am. In the scene where Nosferatu is kissing Lily Rose, I was like, I wish his tongue was in my mouth. And, in that scene, that is not a hot scene, but that's a thought that went in my head. I would suck on that man's tongue. And I think I need to do something about my singleness. It's been a long time. It's been so long. And look, it's just a season. Summer for me, I don't know about you guys, it's like this season of a romance. I just think that those hot, sultry nights where you can't sleep could be put to better use. There are some carnal activities that just would slot right in there. And so it's the hardest season for me, especially being January, the time when I have the most days to myself, without children, and I'm just alone in my bed. And I'm just like, this is the hardest season for me to be single. So I think I need to get a bit more proactive. If I want to meet someone, apps just don't really do it for me. And it's been almost 6 months now since I went on an actual date, so I haven't even gone on a date in quite a long time. Obviously haven't had a partner in over 2 years, so yeah, it's a long time to be without human touch. But the demisexuality means that I can only be touched by people that I'm in a relationship with. So I might have to do something about it, because this movie, I'm like, I shouldn't be feeling these things from this movie. Don't get me wrong, both the Skarsgård brothers are just super charismatic in that way. They're hot even though they're not my type. They just exude that energy. But in this film, as Nosferatu, I shouldn't have been feeling any kind of way. So I don't know, I might try to be a bit more confident and take matters into my own hands in terms of trying to meet people. And, you know, I might have to go old school and just give my number out to randoms on the street. We'll see. But yeah, I still had a lovely time with my bestie, and I saw a preview for a trailer for a movie called Death by Unicorn, and this looks like such a hoot. It's a horror movie, but it's got so much comedy to it that I was like, yeah, I definitely want to see that. So that's definitely on the agenda. And now I will go back to reading the book. I'm going to be honest, I'm not in a super reading mood, but I've got nothing else to do. I'm home alone, so let's read some more and see how batshit Margot can go. Okay, so I've just finally had a chapter in Patricia's point of view. So she was trying to make it as a writer, and she has not, so she's begrudgingly going back to being a reference desk librarian. She seems to be in a very unsatisfactory relationship, and so her fascination with Margot is that she kind of seems like a main character to Patricia. So she is observing Margot and kind of fictionalizing her persona and her character. And we've just gotten to the scene where Patricia has walked in to find Margot sitting astride the now dead patron, and her words to her were, "I missed it." And so Patricia is trying to figure out what exactly does she mean by "I missed it." So I will continue on reading. So Margot's slipped up. They had a police officer come and interview her at her place of work because they'd been told that she'd had a bit of an altercation with the patron before her death. And it obviously has rattled her because she ends up hanging out with Patricia, and she lets it slip to Patricia that she used to be a nurse. And now Patricia wants to know more about Margot's time as a nurse. So Margot's, she's not holding it together well. She even read a book. It was a book recommended by Patricia, which was, I think, Shirley Jackson's What We Do in the Castle. And she's becoming more unhinged. So Patricia was at work with Margot, and Margot has a phrase. She says, "poor souls." And Patricia, it reminded her of a phrase in Shirley Jackson's book, "Poor strangers," I think it was. And she's got a vibe, she's got a feeling. So she sits on her computer at a reference desk and looks up information, and she finds reports about the nurse who was killing her ICU patients and just up and left in the middle of a shift and disappeared. And of course there is a photo because they had her ID. And she's realized it is Margot. Even though she's just realized that Margot is a killer, she still invites Margot to her house after work and asks her a bit about her time as a nurse. And Margot says that her colleagues were jealous of her and pushed her out, so she left. And then her fiance calls and she's telling him about Margot, not that she's a killer. And he said, "Are you writing again?" in a very disdainful way. And like I said, it seems like Patricia doesn't like her partner. But we'll see where it goes. She hasn't let Margot know that she knows, and she hasn't let the police know who Margot is either. So I guess we'll see how this culminates. Okay, so what's happened is Margot, she couldn't resist her nature. She ends up luring a library porn guy to her place, and she kills him. So her way of killing people is a syringe of morphine or whatever until they die, and she likes to straddle them and sort of breathe in their last breaths. And so she kills him, leaves his body in a dumpster because it turns out he's too heavy to really move around. And his body's discovered, and it's right opposite where her and Patricia live. So Patricia sees the police, she sees Margot too with a shovel, because Margot thought, maybe I should bury the body. And then the police come and they interview everybody. And Patricia is still not ratting out Margot because Margot has become a muse for her. She's found her writing spark again, and she doesn't want to let her go. She's like, I'll wait until my book gets picked up and published, and then I'll let people know that Margot's the killer. In the meantime, more people are dying. So Patricia isn't really coming off as a likable character either. They're both kind of selfish in regards to indulging in their passions, in devoting themselves to their work, if you will. So now we are on to the last part, which is called Word After Word After Glorious Word. It's about 25 pages, so I thought I would read it and give you my reactions as I go, as I usually do for the last bit. So we're in Margot's POV. So the detectives have said to her, "It's strange, isn't it, that you had complicated relationships with two patrons who recently died, one at the library, the other, ostensibly, in the parking lot of your home." And she said, "It is strange, detective. I found that life itself is strange, and that these coincidences only prove it. It is tragic, though." Oh, and Margot loves her baths. Like, she's frequently having baths. She used to love to give baths to her previous patients. I'm not sure what they really represent. So now her boss has called her in and has said, "Look, I've noticed some erratic behavior from you lately. I think you should take some time off to work things out." Margot's not happy about it. And Patricia, foolishly, has been literally writing in a book that she brings to work. So writing stories about Margot. And now Margot's picked up her book and has decided to read it because she was sus. Patricia had told her, "Oh, I'm just doing my job. I'm just writing about the information I'm looking up." And Margot's like, "I think you're writing." And now she's discovered that Patricia does know who she is. So she's taken the journal and she's absconding with it. Patricia's just noticed that her notebook is missing. Patricia has just noticed that Margot was carrying her book. She's gone after her and she smells smoke. Margot is burning her book. She just wants the book. She says to Margot, "Please, I told that detective nothing. I haven't told anyone anything, and I never will. I'll keep your secrets. Just give me the book." She says, "Okay, I'll give it to you." "Patricia, you fool!" Okay. Patricia, I lunge forward, reaching out with one hand to grab the notebook, reaching out with the other to stab my letter opener into Margot's neck. She stabbed her in the neck, bro. Patricia, while she's watching Margot bleed out from her neck wound that she inflicted, she says, "It's beautiful, profound, the most profound moment of my life. I watched my mother die too, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't something I'd done with my own hand. I made this, and it fills me with awe. Goodbye, Jane. Goodbye, Margot." The whole building's on fire. She's just going to leave her there. I guess the fire will hide the fact that she killed Margot. She says they only stare in response, shell-shocked, the poor souls. As I make my rounds, I can't help glancing at my notebook now and then, unscathed and full of story. But not the whole story, not yet. Waiting patiently in the grass. Okay. Oh, I will say I wasn't expecting Patricia to kill Margot so quickly, so effortlessly. It's a bit deus ex machina with the library already being on fire, hiding her crime. This was a very quiet, slow-paced book. It was largely set at the library. There were a few scenes at the hospital previously from Margot's past and then in their apartment building. But I know I kind of expected a bit more tension, a bit more build-up, a bit more cat and mouse. But Margot only discovered Patricia's knowledge of her past right at the end. And then Patricia goes on to kill her almost immediately. So there was no real playing against each other, I guess. I was hoping a bit more of a meeting of the minds, It wasn't very horrific. It's definitely just a thriller. It's not horrific, or there wasn't a lot of murdering going on. It was very easy to read. None of the characters were likable. I did enjoy the bits about working at a library, and it's so funny to see how libraries all over the world have very similar patrons, like the ones that are quite memorable, computer porn guy, the one that adamantly denies that they've lost the book. It is in fact you, the library, who have lost the books. The ones that don't want to leave, the ones that waste your time with questions that can be easily Googled. the ones that are paranoid and think that computers have viruses or they're being tracked. And it's like, oh yeah, I had patrons like that and like that. So it's interesting to see that, you know, humans are kind of similar all over. I'm feeling like this is between a 3 and a 3.5. It's a 3.25, and I'm deciding, should I round it up to 3.5 or round it down? I'm going to give it 3.5 because I am biased in that I love books set in libraries and I love librarians. This wasn't as tension filled as I was hoping it was going to be. I was expecting a bit more anxious moments of, you know, will they know that she knows and how soon until she finds out? But Patricia found out so quickly and easily who Margot was. And then Margot only finds out at the end that Patricia knows, and then it's quickly dealt with and moved on. So it was just a bit too convenient and fast in that respect. And it sort of lacked a bit of depth, if you will, but it was a entertaining read. I think I'm just going to go with a 3.5. I'd probably consider reading more of this author. I didn't find it particularly clever in terms of a thriller, but it was entertaining. So 3.5 stars. I am so hot. I have not turned my aircon on. Probably should, because it is a 40-degree day. And so the inside of my house is 30 degrees Celsius. But, you know, kids aren't here, so I will suffer and keep the aircon off, and I'll just strip off since no one else is here and I can. But I have to go and do that now because I am dying. But thank you for joining me on this WildOnes Book Club. Ooh, I should pick another book for next month. I haven't looked yet. Should I do that now? Let's do it on screen. Let me pick one in front of y'all. So for my WildOnes Book Club, I do generally like to read physical books rather than ebooks, so I can hold them up while I'm reading them. Hello, beauty. Oh, hello. Hello. Love you. I've horrible angle, but I thought I'd get Bluebell in the shot. So let's see what's coming into my library, and I'll choose out of those. Okay, you know what? I'm going to change view. Hello, Munchkin. Thank you for turning around. I've stayed in the same shot because she turned around. Okay, so let's see what's coming in. Okay, we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. So that is an option, but that is a later book in a series, and I tend to want to read something new that is the start of a series. We have Feast While You Can. I think I'm going to go with Feast While You Can by Michaela Clements and Anjuli Datta. This is a queer horror. And let's read the blurb so you know what to expect if you wanted to read it, so you can be spoiled. It says, this is a novel of queer love in a small town and an unsettling reminder that the horrors of modern life are monsters ready to possess us all. In the valley, at the intersection of 3 towering mountains, sits Cadenza, an ugly remote town with little to its name. It's filled with tourists in the summer and dead the rest of the year, when most of its residents surrender to a sleepier existence. Except that is, for whatever is lurking in the caves. Angelina Sicko was born and raised in Cadenza, and for many generations, so was every member of her family. Determined to be content with her lot in life, she walks her mongrel dog, attends her brother's heavy metal concerts, holds court in the local dive bar, and does everything she can to bait hot queer women to her sleepy conservative hometown. But on the night of a family party, much like every other, Angelina runs into Patrick's ex, the sternly handsome Yagvi, who's back in town for a spell. Perhaps enticed by Yagvi's arrival, an ancient evil lying dormant in those caves is awakened. And soon, Angelina's small contained world begins to shatter. As the monstrous force grows bolder, it infiltrates Angelina's life. It talks with her dog's mouth. It guzzles on her memories. It controls Angelina from the inside. Only Yagvi's touch repels it, the final trigger for a secret, passionate romance. But this monster feasts on all the passion, heartbreak, and mess that makes up a life, and Angelina Sicko's life has never looked tastier. What will Angelina do to protect her future, and what will it cost her? So that will be my next WildOnes Book Club read. I don't think I've done a horror for that, but that's everything for this reading vlog. Until next time, stay wild, star child.